Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to today's conversation on public digital infrastructure and fintech. And before we begin today's session, I would like to state one important statistic. So yesterday, the Digital India program, which has the digital public infrastructure as the major keystone, completed 10 years. So we had 10 years of public empowerment through digital public infrastructure. We already had the proven India stack, payments, identity, and data. Now there are new set of DPIs are coming. I prefer to call them DPI 2.0, where it's agri stack, the India energy stack, and then also cooperative stack, where new systems are being built to power India to the next level or for the $1 trillion economy dream. So with this particular context, I would like to start the first question from Raghunath and get your sense on how at a smart governance level or at a governance level, how are you using these DPI tools in the state of Karnataka with some examples?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Raghunath. I'm part of e-governance. So e-governance department is managing all the e-governance projects for Government of Karnataka, whether it is property registration or whether it is farmer-related subsidy distribution or it is freight price depot management. So all e-governance projects are actually initiated and delivered by e-governance department. I'm part of e-governance department. So for us, DPI, Digital Public Infrastructure, is one of the backbone of all our delivery. So right from, as you know, so DPI actually has three fundamental components. One is digital identification, second one is your payment gateway, and third one is digital platform. So basically all e-governance projects, it requires identifying the beneficiary in unique way. So Aadhaar is the backbone of all our projects, DPI projects. Aadhaar is the backbone. So I will give an example, so which we can say, so where all the components of DPI are exclusively used and how effectively it is getting used and benefiting all the process of our delivery. So for example, I will take one example of university management system what we have developed. So when a student logs in, so he has to give his Aadhaar number. So from his Aadhaar number, we will do eKYC. So he need not do any paperwork. So he will get all his eKYC details. Then we will connect to DigiLocker. We will get all these mass card details. Then automatically, based on his eligibility criteria, so he will be admitted. Then again, during admission, so we will be connecting to some other systems, again through DPI backbone. So that is to ascertain his category and caste. So caste is one of the criteria for education. So that is also done through all API integrations. Then once he is getting admitted, so he has to pay the fee. So again, so everything is online. So he has to connect to one of the payment gateways. So we have given multiple choices. So you can choose any of the payment gateway option. So you can make the payment. So once the payment is done, automatically all his admission details is sent to scholarship portal. So so all the beneficiaries who are eligible for this scheme, so will be automatically credited with whatever the predefined amount. So once, if you see, he has given only once his Aadhaar number. So nothing actually, there is no paperwork, so no need of giving any additional information, right from admission, then exam payment, then getting all the scholarships, so everything is done automatically. So we are doing it on entitlement based. So Suvamoto, so as soon as he is eligible, so we are doing all these things. Then once he passed out, so his mass cards is automatically uploaded into DigiLocker. So NAD, we call it as NAD, DigiLocker. Then you can, so some of the universities, they are doing this processing within 30 minutes. As soon as they complete the evaluation, within 30 minutes, mass cards are available in the DigiLocker. So again, this DPI is one of the major component in this one. Next, so now Government of Karnataka has introduced some of the schemes where these undergraduates and postgraduates who are not getting the job, so they are eligible for some unemployment benefits. So now once he passed out, our data is pushed to that benefit scheme management system. So then through DBT, so these students still they get a job, so up to 6 months, so they will be paid unemployment benefit also. So in the sense, so using DPI, all the benefits or whatever is really entitled for that citizen is done away. So in the sense, he need not apply, he need not come to any through any broker. So it is actually it's helping him to get his what is due. So that is one of the greatest benefits of DPI in e-governance.
Thank you. I think you rightly pointed out the level of efficiency DPI brings into governance services. Now coming to you, Manasi, you being a banker, and there have been multiple examples where bank fintech collaboration has been kind of exemplified. One example I can quote is the usage of DPI. The CBDC is also being used as a DPI. There's one instance where State Bank of India have partnered with one of the fintechs in Bangalore, and they dispersed Kisan credit loans in the state of Odisha and Andhra. So you being a banker, how do you see the collaboration between bank and fintech, especially leveraging DPI technologies?
No, I think, you mentioned that we are a decade into this now formally, and over this decade, I think this relationship has matured significantly. I mean, there are more cycles to test how this eventually pans out, but we've moved from what I call like a very transactional collaboration to what we've now seen increasingly as a very contextual, embedded financial services-led collaboration. And some of the examples you took are situations where, whether it's retail or other use cases, you are seeing an embedded financial service coming into play. And I think banks have now found their space of where they fit in this ecosystem. And you no longer believe that, you are at threat, but you genuinely know that you have a place in the ecosystem, and therefore it's now a more the next level of collaboration. The first level was extremely transactional, right? You were only using limited products and services. Some part of that continues, but now it's clearly you're co-building, and you're co-building on a shared infrastructure, and that's really where the stack really comes in to achieve scale.
Since you spoke about co-building, how do you see the innovation culture, right? And how is that shaping the relationship between banks and fintechs?
You could spend a day discussing the culture side of it. So it's very tough to, kind of summarize it. But being part of a bank, most of us started on this journey in 2017 onwards. And there have been a lot of learnings. I would say that the journey is one where you're kind of moving on three counts as to who's in charge of innovation. I think, for us, we realize that you can't just look up to, the digital or the tech teams or, the strategy teams to be in charge of innovation. It has to be broader in terms of ownership, and that's really where the cross-functional part comes in. We piloted and we succeeded, and sometimes we failed on bringing in cross-functional teams to really bring out problem cases, etc. We've had a couple of API teams, NTB teams, new to experience teams. So the key was cross-functional and having an organization-wide ownership on really bringing through the feeds from the client, and then collectively ideating on what kind of aspects you wanted to be invested in. The second piece was agility. You realize that when you're part of a tenured organization, you're not built for agility. And especially when you're a regulated, tenured organization, that's not really what you're cut out for. But for some of these small bits and pilots and stuff that you need to do, you need to ensure that you can do fast prototyping, you can do learn and fail cycles, and actually go back to the last one there, post-agility. It's openness, because you can look at openness in many ways. You can look at openness for inclusion, for ideating, for really coming to the table even with another fintech as a co-partner rather, or a joint venture rather than, kind of being the big brother. So I think openness, therefore, is the third learning on the culture story. And the final is just figuring out the feedback to all your efforts on how does that dovetail into what you're really working towards. So it's not an easy kill on culture, and I think for almost all organizations, we've all had our journeys, learnings, and the idea is to keep experimenting, and the human HI component to our friend who was speaking of it before. I think the human aspect of it is core to really building that culture through.
Thank you. And I think it's not going to go away, the human
Yeah.
component. Now, coming back to you, sir, especially on the agriculture, because this is also one of the key areas where both central and state governments always prioritize. And there's one news article where even the finance minister stated that ULI, the Unified Lending Interface, as the DPI, should be open to fintechs, and banks should be able to use that aggressively to expand the line of credit. Would you be able to share some light or shed some light on the agri stack and how the state of Karnataka is using that? What kind of DPIs are they leveraging?
Agri stack, so we call it as fruits. Basically fruits is an ID we give to all the farmers. So that is again linked to a property registration. So in the sense, so if any farmer is having a property, automatically it will be assigned to a fruits ID. So any benefits. So if, for example, if you go to bank to get any loans, so then he has to quote the fruits ID automatically, so he will be identified as a farmer. So he need not submit any kind of property related documents. That is already ensured that so all the documents are available in the system. So that using the fruits ID, so now farmers are able to get the loans, so whatever loans. So that is one part. Second part, government is also giving lot of scheme related benefits. For example, if there is a flood, if there is a famine, so then farmer are compensated based on the land availability and with the farmer. So maybe for small farmers, so it will be more. For the larger farmer, it will be less. So all the details are available. So in case of any famine or flood, so automatically there is a system. So through DBT amount, so whatever the government sanctioned amount will be transferred to the affected farmers. So in that way, so he can avail the benefits of a loan. Also, he can take the benefits of all the benefits which are part of his entitlement.
Thank you, sir. Coming to you, Manasi. Now, data, I mean, there's a cliche that data is the new oil, and with greater access to data also comes a huge deal of responsibility. How do you handle client or customer data? How do you navigate this challenge when you're collaborating with fintechs, right, or let's say open ecosystems?
Yeah, no, I think, and which is the reason why when for India, I think we've really used the role of banks well. So banks, are regulated, they have years of conditioning on the fact that they do hold data, and they're built on trust, they bring trust, compliance, and of course, the infrastructure side of the story. And then of course you bring in the fintech for really the client experience, the agility, design, and I guess the marriage of the two, so far as both sides have clarity and they have a clear role to play with well-defined roles and responsibilities, I think that's a lot to build on. What you don't want is that there is no oversight and it's kind of mushroomed to a size where it's too difficult to then really know what lies beneath. So I guess that's the core. The rest, of course, is also policy and guidance, because without that you wouldn't really be able to kind of get the guardrails, right. It can't only yet be principle based for us because it's too nascent. So I guess that's really going to be the core.
Yeah. We have just close to 6 minutes left, so I would like to put another question to you and then to Raghunath, sir. So now DPI is being exported to other countries. India's success story in DPI is also taken to different other countries. So right now even the Prime Minister is traveling to countries like Ghana, where DPI is also one of the key focus of promoting our own technology. How do you see the role of banks and fintechs in kind of positioning this well to global markets? What is the role? What do you see there?
Yeah. So firstly, I think when you look at it underlying, while theoretically we are exporting technology or, the thing, but in a very high level, you're also exporting a philosophy, because what you tried to solve for is you wanted to achieve scale, you wanted to achieve at an affordable cost, and you wanted to achieve it with the right infrastructure to build on in terms of a foundation. So whether you take UPI, Aadhaar, Raghu mentioned that that's the foundation of identity. I think these are fantastic blueprints that can be lifted and shifted, but there has to be the right constituents in that market on who plays what role. And I think banks can definitely help, whether it is Indian banks who are also many of them who are international. There are international banks, of course, who have presence in many markets. And then, of course, the fintech. And there are quite a few fintechs who are also looking at overseas markets. They know how to, they've got it right in India. I think if they have the right insights to customize it for that market, there is definitely a play here which can be a larger play. But before that, they need to have the market constituents and a political will to really step in with the guardrails that India invested in early, which helped us to really kind of get the scale and the cost right.
Now coming to you, sir, especially on the governance part, right, where do you see what are the next areas where DPIs can really help in making governance services more efficient?
Now, actually, Government of Karnataka is coming up with a big project, so unified land management. So basically, land is the main component of any property registrations in Karnataka, whether it is rural property or land property. So now all these properties will be given a unique ID. So it is like a property ID. So they call it as one ULIP pin. So now all the transaction, whether it is a banking transaction or property registration transaction, so everything will go through a workflow. So in the sense, so there won't be any breakages of data loss. So now, since this is a one unified system, so you will get all the details related to your property, your land transaction, your loan transaction, your benefits, everything in one single place. So this will give some kind of this one to your citizen also, as well as the administrator, to take right decisions.
Thank you, sir. Now to summarize our conversation, I would like to position in this way that state governments anyways have a bigger role to play in making citizen services better by leveraging DPI, but banks and fintechs are also going to use next level of DPIs. For example, there's a DigiPin with 10-digit alphanumeric number, which allows for better and quick service delivery. And there's different, there are very informal areas where you don't have an actual address. So this DigiPin would actually help both banks and fintechs to reach to the last mile and offer goods and services in a more efficient way. So with this, I would like to conclude today's session, and thank you, Manasi and Raghunath sir, for your insights. Thank you.